Hey everyone, welcome to Kingsfield. Wait, what? What is this game? Here's another good question. Whose logo is this? This is From Software. You might know them from Dark Souls, or Bloodborne, or Sekiro, pretty much everything they've done in the last decade. Have you ever wondered what these guys made before they got famous, or where Dark Souls came from? Well, if you think you're smart, you might say Dark Souls came from Demon Souls, but you're wrong. And that game sucks too, so you're really wrong. The true origin of all these games comes from Kingsfield, and it is a horrible glory. So when I showcased Prey, I was playing a pretty recent game from 2017, so naturally the next game I cover is from 1995. This is an early 3D game only on the PlayStation 1. Oh no. Yeah, this generation of games hasn't aged so well. This game looks bizarre at first, and the frame rate is really low, like 15 or 20 FPS I think. Sometimes it goes even lower. It also only runs at 4:3, which is why I have these black bars on the side. It's a very strange game to look at first, but you just kinda get used to it as you keep playing, and it's not a problem anymore. But before we get into the game, we need to know the story. The intro makes an attempt to do that, but I don't think it does a great job. So let's watch the intro. Get a shot of this island and some dude starts talking to me.
There was either a god or a demon who controlled the island, and no one tried to go there.
There's either a god or a demon ruling this place? Like, there's a pretty big difference between the two, I'd like to know. And I feel like it'd be easy to tell as well.
A high elf in the forest told of a blue
Alright, this story is starting to lose me already. I'm just gonna spoil it for you.
struck
This intro doesn't make any sense, and that's not the point. The point of this intro is to set you up to understand that nothing in this game will make sense. And I hope you like the voice acting here, because that's the last time you'll hear any until the end of the game. Then bam, you're in the game now. What, do you not know the story or something? You just saw the intro. What else is there to see? Well, I didn't really know what was going on either at this point. Did I miss something? Maybe. It's worth noting that this isn't even the only Kingsfield game. They made 4 of these things, and this isn't even the first game. The title lied to us. And as far as I can tell, these games go through a descending order of chaos and incoherence. So the real first game was never released outside of Japan, and never translated to English, which is why this game is also called Kingsfield. From Software wanted to sell Kingsfield 2 in other countries, but they couldn't just call it Kingsfield 2 because the other countries had no Kingsfield 1. So because of this, we have 2 different games with the exact same name depending on what country you're in. Does that make sense to you? Seems like a bad long-term strategy to me. So I'd never even be able to play the first Kingsfield normally, but this game has a fan translation, because apparently this game has fans. I appreciate the effort that went into translating this game, but I can't say I'd recommend playing this. This game is just madness. Look how much text is in the intro! Oh my god! I guess that's why Kingsfield 2's intro was so short. The core of this game is very similar to Kingsfield 2, but the level design is insane. I have never seen a more player-hostile level design than this. So there are several areas you can choose to go to from the start, but every single area is a maze filled with dividing paths, dead ends, and so many enemies. Every hallway is filled with enemies like scorpions, or snakes, or spiders. Just a general assortment of animals, really. Oh, and these tree guys are terrible because their big-ass arms stretch out across the room and they don't let you run past them. So you have to fight these every single time you see them. What even is this thing on the ground? Oh, it's a spike trap. I'm dead. Exploring the dungeons is like fighting a hydra. You walk down one hallway, 2 more take its place. Every room in this game looks the exact same, and it all leads to dead ends that have trees that want to stab you to death. I got lost immediately, and it doesn't exactly help that the enemies respawn as soon as you walk away from them. They say you can't judge a book by its cover, but I think you can absolutely judge a game by its first level. So yeah, I'm skipping this one. Also, whenever I try to save the game, it just soft locks and I can't do anything. That's probably just an issue with the emulator, but who knows? This game is evil after all. So what about the second game, the one that we're actually playing for this video? The level design makes more sense, but this game feels like a fever dream to me. It almost makes sense, but everything sort of feels out of place. Everyone talks to you as if you already know what's going on. It's as if you only hear about half of any conversation. Oh yeah, and nobody in this game has eyes. Hello, newcomer. You can go to the underworld if you want to find some crystals. I cannot go down below because I'm too fat. Anyway, I have some herbs to sell. Okay. What's the underworld? What are crystals? What are herbs? Why are you fat? What the fuck is happening? And now for Kingsfield 3, which is actually called Kingsfield 2 outside of Japan. This one is the scariest because it actually makes sense. You know who you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. Wow. Yeah, the things we take for granted these days in games. The other games didn't even come close to having this. Even Half-Life didn't have this. No one knows what the fuck they were doing in that game. This game also has a solid translation throughout, it added poise to enemies, and it even has item descriptions. Yeah, this game isn't weird, it's just ahead of its time. And as for the fourth and final game, well, I haven't actually played it. It's only on the PS2, and I don't have a way to play that right now. But if I had to guess based on previous entries to the series, this game is probably a literary masterpiece, and is part of some high school's reading curriculum. So that's it, right? Those are 4 games. 4 kings, if you will. That might actually be intentional. Well, it turns out there is kind of another game. Actually, there might be an infinite amount of additional games. In 2000, From Software released a level editor for Kingsfield, and packaged it with a complete remastering of the first Kingsfield game. This is kind of amazing. It has updated graphics, runs at 60 FPS, and it runs on Windows natively. You don't have to do any sort of emulation to play this. And look, I can actually save my game now. This is some 2000 technology right here. There are some issues with this though. This game also wasn't released outside Japan, which means you will need to download a fan translation if you want to play in English, which I do. The other and much larger issue is that it's an unsupported, low-budget engine from 2000. It doesn't really play too well with modern systems. Look at this resolution it thinks I'm running at. Yeah, that's a bit off. And I have no option to change the resolution either. Guess I'm playing in 4x3. This game supports my Xbox 360 controller, but only barely. This is kind of understandable because this predates even the original Xbox, but still, this is pretty annoying. The controller configuration is a whole problem in of itself, really. When I first got to this menu, I pressed every button in an attempt to rebind my controls, but it just wasn't giving me the option. Is it just not possible to change the controls in this game? It says configure pad. What does that mean? Probably means change controls, right? I don't know. Well, it turns out you're meant to press right and left on the analog stick to cycle through what each button should do. Okay, that's kind of weird, but it's not really a problem. Well, actually, it turns out to be a pretty big problem because I can't bind anything to half the controller. I can't use the triggers, the right analog stick, or the D-pad. Not an option. Not possible. So, what is button 1 or button 2? Good question. It took me like 5 minutes to change the controls since it's all trial and error. But no matter what you do, the controls in the menus don't change. So any change you make will only affect the gameplay. I didn't even think changing the controls was working until I left the menu. I was trying to press the back button, but it wasn't doing anything. Cool. But it almost doesn't matter because you need to change the controls because the default configuration is abysmal. By default, strafing is placed on the start and back buttons. Looking down is right bumper, and looking up is X. What? And I can't get the movement right because I can only use the left analog stick, so I had to bind looking up and down to the start and back buttons. Oh god, it feels so wrong. I kinda wish this game was emulated now so I could easily fix the controls. Oh, yeah, and I can't forget to mention that the controls reset every time you launch the game, which means more rebinding in this hellish menu. This game is just cursed apparently, doesn't matter what year it came out. Everything is designed against the player. The things we take for granted indeed. You wanna know what's really cursed about this game? It came with someone else's save from 2010. Apparently someone was able to get all this shit in under 3 hours. Is that even possible? Am I playing on a cheated save? I don't know what's going on anymore. I actually gave one of the level editor community games a try, and as I said earlier, this is awesome. It's pretty amateurish by today's standards, but for 2000, this really feels like it could have been some cheap, very cheap game. Oh well. And there are tons of these custom campaigns as well. I can't necessarily speak for the quality of all of these, but there must be dozens of hours of content, hindered by one of the worst control setups I've ever seen, as well as being from an incredibly niche title. I mentioned earlier that you don't need to do any emulation to play this, so I'm just going to link this fan game in the description if you want to play it. All you have to do is download it and just run it and you can play it. You don't need the level editor installed or any other games. I think I'm allowed to distribute this. I don't really know. So now that we've seen all of the Kingsfield games, it's time to play Kingsfield 2. Are you thinking this video structure is confusing? Exactly. Now we can truly appreciate the complete and utter mystery that is Kingsfield 2. So the game just starts in this rock and I have no idea where we are or what's going on. If you walk into the water, you instantly die. I walk a bit to my left and bam, there's a boss fight already. Holy shit, this has to be the world record for the fastest boss fight ever. Well, at least I don't have to fight this one yet. So we just wander around for a bit. This game is so confusing at first. I mean, what does anything do? Earth herbs? A fire crystal? I don't know. Well, I'll just spoil a bit for you. Earth herbs heal me and crystals give me magic. You should be able to figure out the rest on your own. Bloodstone? Maybe not. Honestly, what would you expect this item to do? Leave a comment below on what you think this item does. I'll tell you later in the video. I also find some guy just fishing over here, because apparently that's the normal thing to do when there's monsters everywhere. You look like the person that was on the ship that wrecked here. Can't believe you made it here, man. Usually when a ship wrecks out there, no one makes it here alive, except for those who are tradesmen. I don't know what that means, but I love that line. This guy came here to look for the Viking treasures, but the island is filled with poison and he can't leave without the water on this island. I cannot leave. Oh yeah, that water that really helped me earlier. Yeah, this stuff's great. Well, I hate to tell you, man, but there is water everywhere. It's not just in this island. This guy is out of it. So then he gives me this whole paragraph just because he heard me shit-talking him. The only interesting thing here is that the fish are called sigils. Because, I mean, what would you have named them? Oh, God damn it, not again. We find out from him that there are other people living on this island, which is pretty good. I don't want to talk to this guy anymore. So, where are these people? The village is behind the wooden door. What? Why do I have to hurry? What the hell is this guy talking about? Okay, but like, this is what I mean when I say that everyone talks to you as if you already know what's going on, and they're just trying to remind you. Like, I've never been here, dude. I don't know where the wooden door is. Who are you? I don't even know your name. What is this enemy? How would you even describe something like this? It has like squid hands and a ventilation grill for a mouth? What is happening in this game? Why does this fisher guy not give a shit about anything? I tried killing him, but he's just too awesome to die, apparently. You see this water right here? This is magic water, the kind that the fisher was talking about. If you drink it, it heals you. There you go, that's your story so far. Magic water. We wander around a bit more and find our first save post. You can save here. These are pretty much the bonfires at Kingsfield. They're checkpoints. If only they healed me, and if I could teleport between them. Wait, actually, I'll get to that later. I find an item called the Stargate. I mean, what do you think this does? If you try to use it, nothing happens, so at this point I have no clue what this does. This game has a lot of secrets. If you've played Dark Souls before, you might be happy to know that this game also has illusory walls. It also has invisible items just on the floor that you can pick up like in Pokemon. With these two factors combined, it almost guarantees that nobody has ever found everything in a single playthrough. I've got a mildly embarrassing confession to make. When I first played Dark Souls, I thought illusory walls were so cool. I love the idea of hiding little optional areas away like this, and I wish other games had them too. Then I thought it would be so cool that Kingsfield had them as well. And then I realized, oh, wait a second. These are just the secrets that every FPS had in the 90s. They're the exact same thing. Oh, okay. Looking for secrets in Kingsfield involves running up against a wall so close that you can make out every individual pixel, and then you press A as fast as you can, and hope that you find a secret. It kinda makes me feel uncomfortable after I do this for a while. I can only imagine it's a lot of fun to watch this as a viewer too. Maybe even nauseating. So I guess I'll cut this out. If I have to. I end up finding a map and... whoa! What the hell is going on in this map? I think I'd rather just not use it. Let me just open this chest to get the rest of my treasures and... oh god! Yeah, this game does not play fair. I just want to point out that every single time throughout the entire game, whenever you die, they place you right back at the beginning of the game. Then you have to go into the menu and manually load your save. Yeah, I think this kind of gets frustrating after a while. Holy shit, are these the wooden doors like I was talking about? What, are these the wooden doors? Medical herbs for sale, I'll hunt. Who are you? Where are you? Why are there herbs in this barrel? Who the fuck am I? Well, it turns out these are the wooden doors this guy is talking about. You just gotta turn right, kill a man in self-defense, wander around aimlessly a little, and then you find the village, which has some interesting locals. 2 of them. My name is Nola. My brother Diaz came here to this island 2 years ago, but we haven't seen each other. If you see my brother, will you tell him that I am here? Listen, I know this may not seem like much, but this is going to be the motivation for everything in the rest of this game. From now on, we are looking for Diaz. Diaz came to this island to meet a powerful warrior. I don't know if he wanted to learn something from him or if he wanted to fight him. I mean, do you think he would have told you that before he just left and came to this island, right? Fucking weirdo. Then she starts rambling on about how there's only sunlight here and the other parts don't get sunlight. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's kind of creepy though. Phi, the man who came here with my brother, is also gone. And he's a nice guy apparently. Why does why does nobody talk to me? Lonely Nola. So where is this guy, Diaz? Where are we supposed to go next? I don't know. I found an area called the Small Mine. Probably called that because the translator got paid part-time. I found this dude just kind of standing against the wall over here, and I mean... Well, what do you think he's doing? Oh, he's just touching the rocks. Thank God. So this guy is hiding from someone called Necron. Ooh. So who is this guy? We don't know. The tall dude won't tell us. So apparently Necron is responsible for the soldiers fighting me because he's mind controlling them somehow? I can't stay on this island anymore. It's so dangerous. I really need the item which would help me to get off this island. If you bring it to me, I will give you something special. Yeah, I've seen enough to know I don't want anything special from you, buddy. So I go into the small mine and I find something that's actually special. The greatest healing spell known to man. Basically full HP for only 3 magic. Okay. I also find the star key, which goes with the star gate. Every save post has a guidepost next to it. I place the star key into one of the guideposts, then I can use the star gate to teleport to it from anywhere. This is better than bonfires. I wish I had this in Dark Souls. So we find another miner who tells us that this place sucks and we should look for the big mine. Another creative name. The other miners went there, but they looked like they were about to die? Why? There is a cave made by the elves somewhere down in the underworld. The elves had hidden there just before they died. Which doesn't really make any sense to me. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's other elves in this game. I mean, look at this guy's ears. That's what an elf is, right? I think so. Necron is looking for something down there, so the crystal miners who receive the daylight are down there digging for it. So I guess only certain people receive daylight, because they mine for crystals? I've beaten this game 3 times, and I still don't actually know why Necron wants crystals. I can use them to do a few things. So crystals can be found pretty much anywhere, they actually aren't that rare. If I talk to this weird guy with purple goggles on, I can use the crystals to make crystal flasks, or arrow for the bow. I don't even need to pay him for this. I think the arrows are pretty self-explanatory because they're arrows, but the flasks are interesting because they are very similar to Estus flasks. You fill them with that magical water we saw earlier, you can heal yourself on the go. The monsters around here are called termites. Huh, I wonder why. But he says it as if that's not the real name. Sigils isn't in quotations, but termites is, because apparently that's a weird name in this world. Why am I still in this mine? So now where do I go? There's only one other place I can go right now, which is a nearby military base lovingly named Base 1. These names. We need to get through Base 1 to get to the rest of the island. But it's not so easy getting through the base because of a little thing called rhombus keys. Every door in this base requires a rhombus key. You need a key for each side of the door, which means you can trap yourself really easily in this game. There's some jail cells here, because apparently they're imprisoning slimes and PD piranhas now. And skeletons, which all of this kind of defeats the purpose of a jail. We find one guy who isn't dead, and he's just so happy to see us. He tells me about Alexander and King Alfred, and I don't know any of these people. And then he gives me a stone for helping him. Okay. Thanks, I guess. So behind this jail cell, I find a hidden door. Where will this lead? Do not enter. Old hand. Well, alright. I don't know what that means. So I end up finding this huge room with a fountain in it that I can't seem to do anything in. There's a bunch of doors on the sides of the walls here, but I can't open them. So I don't know what to do. I know graphics like these are pretty dated, but it's amazing how it can still make you feel something. Like, this is a creepy place, there's no doubt about it. It's an awesome feeling when you find a cool secret or when you come across a view and it's like, okay, I can kind of see what they were going for. It can almost look good sometimes and it blows my mind. Shit, I think I've been playing this game for too long. This is starting to look normal. So we finally get through the base and make our way to the next village, but I can't get in. This creepy fucking lady just stands here all day and she won't let anyone through because her kid is missing. How is that fair? So now I have to go save this person's kid since I just have no choice. I don't even know you people, like why do you trust me? Apparently this kid loves to explore the termite's nest. Kinda weird. Well, I don't know where that is, but... Oh, okay. Someone built a trap door that leads into the termite nest just for me to save that kid with no way back out. Do not be deceived, these are not a peaceful people. They are forcing me to save this child's life against my own will. I know it sounds like I'm joking, but that genuinely might actually be the story. So the termite's nest has a lot of termites. I mean, who would have thought? As far as I can tell, these guys are respawning forever. They aren't even hard, but they are relentless. And they have these weird flying guys on their side too. I mean, what the fuck even are these things? So let me get this straight. I am to believe that these creatures are living in perfect harmony until I came along. And then suddenly war is declared on me and me alone. No one else is under attack. Is that right? Oh, where is this kid? So behind this illusory wall, I find an interesting item. This is the truth glass. I don't know what this does. I think I'll save before I use this. This item allows me to get a brief description of every enemy, character, and location in the game. This item is absolutely essential for even coming close to understanding the story. But why would they hide it behind an illusory wall? I managed to miss this item in my first 2 playthroughs. Why would you write text for everything in the game and then make it so that only some of the players can see it, not most? This game makes no sense. See, it says right here, this guy is a dark elf. I knew there were elves in this game. What the hell? They can be attacked by bows. Take good aim. Who wrote this? Here we are, the termite boss. Christ, this guy is huge. So I'm not going to be using that advice we just saw about the bow. I prefer my strategy of hitting the enemy once and then backing up. Oh, he's dead already. Okay. So here we find the kid we were looking for, trapped behind the big termite. But why was he there? Were the termites taking hostages? I don't see any other way this could be explained. This kid gives me the pirate's key, which I find very suspicious. Remember the creepy room with the fountain? It's time to do something here. But what do we do here, you might be wondering? So, naturally, and I totally didn't miss this completely on my first playthrough, I used the pirate's key with that stone that guy gave me earlier, because when you see this room, you think pirates. My grandfather told me there was a base of pirates on this island long ago. The pirates quarreled among themselves and killed each other off because of the hidden treasures. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought they were Vikings. Idiot. I saw the little boy Sandler and he was excited because he found a key around here. The child said that it was the pirate's key, but I don't think it was. Oh my god, you don't know anything! So we used the pirate's key to get the skull key, and then we used the skull key to get another stone. Oh my god. Then we use the 2 skulls we have, which apparently are both also keys, which then turns this fountain's water into yellow. That's usually not a good sign for water, but it's fantastic in Kingsfield. This means that the water will now recover my magic as well. Otherwise I have to use these bullshit moonstones that only give me 40 MP and cost $1 billion each for some reason. So not only do I get yellow water, but those doors on the sides also open up, which creates shortcuts to areas I've already been to. This isn't a creepy room anymore, this is now the central hub for the rest of the game. This is a complete game changer, and it's all optional and super easy to miss. Oh hey, remember me? I can actually kill this guy now. So yeah, this game is much more difficult without this. So why did the developers hide it? I want to call this bad design, but I also kind of respect the audacity of it as well. It's like I just discovered the difficulty setting for the game behind an illusory wall. This game is easy now. Shrine key. Awesome. I'll be using this in 8 hours, literally. So if that was all optional, then where do we go? Well, now we can go into the village and meet everyone there. There's an interesting character here. He's like a wizard, I guess? Thankfully I can use my truth glass to figure this kind of stuff out. A fortune teller who can see all over the world with her crystal ball. Nothing about herself is known except that she is a female. You know, you gotta wonder what type of person this is if even the all-seeing magical truth glass doesn't know shit about you. Mysterious. If I talk to this person, they will explain to me what items do. Yes, you need an NPC to give you item descriptions in this game. What does this dagger do? An ordinary weapon, nothing special. What about this giant hammer? Ordinary weapon, nothing special. Okay. She only gives me item descriptions when she feels like it. Oh yeah, remember the bludgeon from earlier? What do? They recover all statuses except poison. Wow, was your guess right? Probably not. I'm glad they waited until halfway through the game to introduce this character. But wait, it gets weirder. Not only can this person show up completely randomly in different locations, but sometimes she literally doesn't appear anywhere at all. At least, as far as I can tell. Look at this. The wizard wasn't here when I came here. I wouldn't save my game, came back, and now she's here. There's no trigger for this. There's nothing I can do to make this wizard appear. It's completely random. Because the developers thought it would be fun and interesting if you randomly couldn't find out what new items do anymore. For a little while? I don't know. This has to be the most antagonistic method of adding item descriptions that I have ever seen, in a game where nothing is obvious. So what is going on? What are my motivations? What am I trying to do? Those are good questions for the game, and for real life. Unfortunately, these will not be answered. It's time to go to the big mine, because I don't know what else to do. The big mine is big. I can see where they got the name. You get to ride a minecart here. Yay! You also can't control anything and you'll die if you get hit a single time. I think this part was meant to be cinematic, but it always gives me anxiety. This is by far the largest area in the game. Not only that, but it has the most unique enemies as well. You've got the usual plants and termites, but we also have these genuinely scary flying worm things. They just kind of lunge at you silently. Now, imagine being in the localization team for this game. Like, hey, what should this guy be called? Oh, called! That's it! Alright, on to the next one. Come on, get down here. Stop flying away. Come on. Jesus Christ! In the next area we have some dinosaurs that shoot blue fire and rocks at you. And we also have these, whatever these things are. They shoot blue fire as well. We find some more miners here, in the big mine. The miners aren't big though, but their dialogue is really big. Look at all these caves. We've got the Cave of Poison, the Cave of Darkness, the Cave of Earth Soul, and the Elf Cave. Yes, I think we'll be visiting all of these. Hey, look at this dead guy. He kinda stands out from the background, doesn't he? It's almost like we'll be interacting with him later. My ancestor was working for King Harvine and was given Harvine's key, but I lost the key while I was walking around the island. That's kinda dumb. Let's investigate further at the truth glass. Dolph Weiss, a descendant of King Harvine's brain. Wait, what? Dolph came to hunt for the treasure with the Harvine key, which was handed down by his ancestors. Now he is working in the mine because he lost the key. So this key could be anywhere on the island? Wow, I mean this is a huge game, right? This key could be pretty hard to find. There it is! The key is right there. Why is everyone insane in this game? In the name of the Great Mage, no one can enter this cave of the Earth Soul. Shaddam. Apparently Shaddam loves his dinosaurs. There's a shit ton in here. This is the final cave. These flying blue heads are elf souls, apparently. They look really angry when I kill them. It's kind of funny. Here we get the elf crystal. Another item I can't use for hours to come. But it will be so exciting when that time comes. So once again we reach that point in our lives where we ask ourselves, where the fuck am I supposed to go? Well, there's one more village I can go to. And as usual, there is a total of 2 people living here. Some things never change. First we got this dude who's just standing here. He's got a rocking chair that is moving and creaking all on its own, and I have no idea why. There's no invisible person as far as I can tell, no magic that I can see, just a chair that moves on its own. Kingsfield. This guy wants me to find this little girl's father, who is the only other person in the village. Well, besides that chair. Her father never came back from the big mine. And it's a big coincidence that her father was that guy who stands out against the background. Well, I go all the way back to the big mine and I save this man's life, because I am great at that sort of thing. And I am rewarded with a necklace. Thought that'd look great on me. Also, this painting in this guy's house is surprisingly important. Don't forget about this painting. So yeah, what else do you want, guy? Anything else I can get you while I'm here? He wants me to bring him a dark crystal. Okay, you got me there. I don't have that. And that concludes the last village of the game. For now, till I get that dark crystal. But once again, where am I supposed to go? I was completely lost by this point in my first playthrough. Most games structure themselves so that if you go really far, then you're going the right way. Most games, especially in this era, place the final level as far away as possible from the first level, but Kingsfield looks more like this. You can just ignore over half of this game easily. You'll have a much more difficult time, but you can definitely still beat the game just fine. This actually makes the world feel more real, because the world doesn't feel like it was tailored specifically for the player. But, well, Let's just say it's hard to get immersed in a game that looks like this. So I have the power of hindsight. I know where to go right now. Turns out that there is another path right next to the big mine. Necron's Coliseum. It's all coming together now. I find an epitaph on the wall. It's strangely personal and feels real for some reason. It's so out of place in a game where the violence is kind of hilarious, not to mention the art. But I guess at the time, this was the best that developers were capable of, and they were really trying to add a dash of humanity in an otherwise completely alien game. An epitaph from someone we don't know, made for someone else we also don't know. Feels oddly emotional. Now, is this the kind of feeling that From Software was trying to invoke? No, well certainly not. I'm probably supposed to know who this is. Look what I find downstairs. A giant skeleton that talks to me. What the fuck? And when he's done, he just vanishes. What? What is this? A puzzle? Okay. Here I get to use those shrine keys I found earlier. I cut out finding the second one, it doesn't really matter. So now I have to line up the symbols to open the door. But if you do it wrong, you fall down a pit, and it takes like 4 minutes to get back up, so don't do that. But how do I line up the symbols? Well, they should look familiar. Remember that painting you saw like less than a few minutes ago? I'd hope you remember it. These are the symbols we need to line up. So I position both symbols on top and open the door and... no. You're not getting me this time, Pit. Well, how about if I put the symbols on the right? Yes, that works. So this is the shrine. It's an interesting place. You can talk to a tree here. You can also talk to this giant blue crystal thing. It goes on for a while about how I'm special, and then it tells me that I can have Seath's sword. Sounds pretty important. Okay, so where is this sword? It's not over here. No. Where the fuck is the sword? Ah, here it is. It took me an entire minute to find it, it's just kind of lodged in the wall. Is this the proper way to treat your chosen one? I think not. Although I guess it might be hard to just hand me the sword if you lack a physical form. That would pose an issue. Well anyway, on the other side of the shrine, we find the Dark Crystal. Ooh, but it's sealed. Now I know the Dark Crystal doesn't sound like something a hero would use, but these are hard times. To get the crystal, we pull a Raiders of the Lost Ark and swap this Dark Crystal with the Elf Crystal. Or at least I think that's what's going on. I don't know. So I bring the Dark Crystal back to the guy at the last village. He is overjoyed. Well, presumably. They probably just couldn't render that in the PS1. This text is really hard to read against this background, but essentially he says that we should come back later and he'll make us a sword. Okay. I've never had to do that before. So I come back later and he says, no, you need to wait a bit longer. Alright, I'm getting real sick of how people are treating the Chosen One here. I come back even more later and I discover that Necron has stolen the finished sword. Oh no! Shit, I kinda forgot about that guy. Necron's come back to his Coliseum, which, as it turns out, was where we were going anyway. So this is the Coliseum. Oh, the sides of it anyway. The souls of the guards who were killed are waiting to watch the next fight. Okay, that's a weird thing to put in a Coliseum. For some reason there's graves and skeletons surrounding this place. How bizarre. What's even more bizarre is that I find an underground laboratory creating monsters. What in the world is the story in this game? See, it's the stuff like this that makes this game so interesting. And I'm not the only one who thinks that way either. So, for example, Dark Souls has a pretty weird story, right? Or at least a mysterious one. Some details just aren't mentioned anywhere, and it's up to the player to figure stuff out for themselves and make their own connections. And this wasn't done by accident either. When Miyazaki, the project lead of Dark Souls 1 and 3, wrote the story, he intentionally wrote it in a way that would convey the same feeling that he had experienced reading books in English when he was younger. Miyazaki's English wasn't very good at the time, and the confusion created an aura of mystery between what he did not understand and what he did. Characters' motivations were confusing, the story moved in unexpected ways. It's kind of fascinating to not fully understand something, and if you enjoyed the writing in Dark Souls, then you'd probably agree with that. And now it's come full circle, because Kingsfield has given me that exact same feeling. I think I'm missing chunks of the story, but it ends up being more interesting as a result. I've played a lot of games in my life that have similar stories, predictable characters, whatever. But this? I've never seen this. Now, will this cause me to go on to make some of the best games ever made? Probably not. The space for completion. No trespassing. So here we can fight some of those demons we saw earlier. There's really no point in doing this, you don't really get anything for it. These are some pretty tough enemies, and I'm surprised they mostly only use them for a borderline secret area. Warriors who were killed by Goyra's legion are buried here. I wonder who's writing on these signs. I bet it's the same guy who told me to use a bow and termites. Alright, it's time for the Colosseum. First off, I have to fight 4 big versions of enemies I've already fought before. I don't think I've ever found this part of the game fun, but refighting past bosses, one right after the other at the end of the game, is so common in older JRPGs, so it's kinda cute. After I murder all 4 of these guys, I get to fight the actual boss fight. And I don't get to save before this either, so the pressure's on. If I die, I'll have to spend another 5 minutes doing this again. So the guy we're fighting here is Dias. Attracted by a man. Oh, in the dark side. Okay, so this guy isn't even the mastermind of everything going on. He's just some guy. He calls himself Necron. Oh my god, it's the same person. He apparently owns the Colosseum, which makes me really question how land ownership works in Kingsfield. I assume he didn't build this place. He probably just killed everyone. He's known as the best warrior in the world, and that is a title he absolutely deserves. This guy is really hard at first. He throws like magical bombs at you, he can do backflips, and he just punches you if you get too close to him. This was probably really cool for 95, but it looks dumb now. So after the fight, we finally get the Dark Sword, and we find Ernest's body? I've got no idea who this is, guys. This guy right here is the greatest mystery of Kingsfield. So we go behind the Colosseum, down this hall, and we find a floating cube spinning around? Ah. And if you think that's confusing, you also get teleported to a different dimension when you touch it. At this point, I don't know. Every time I play this game, I tell myself, this is the playthrough that will figure out the story. But what could explain this? What is all this? The enemies here are robots. Why? Is this connected to the labs we saw at the Colosseum? I just don't know. Also, I hate this place. It's a maze. I keep finding these floating cubes which take me to a different part of the maze. I don't seem to actually be going anywhere. Oh, I hate mazes. Finally, I find the correct floating cube and I proceed to the final boss of the game. It's actually happening. This is Goyra, I think, so he's got very little to say to you. The man who woke up the dark side offered me all of your energy. So I guess I was the man in the dark side? Does that mean that guy was attracted to me? The only other person he could be is this dragon. I don't know what's going on. Goyra is kinda hard if you don't know what you're doing, but otherwise he's not too terrible. He has these floating balls that shoot lasers at you, which you can actually kill. I ended up ignoring them mostly because at this point, I had so many healing items it just didn't matter. Behind Goyra is the Moonlight Sword, which you can actually pick up and use. You have to kinda glitch past them on the small platform and you can just pick it up. I was only able to do this once on my very first playthrough, so you'll have to take my word for it. I also lost my footage of me trying to get it, so you'll really have to take my word for it. You're not really missing much though, it's just a normal sword. So after a few minutes of stabbing him in the face over and over again, I eventually slew the dragon. He turns really small and then an orange ball picks him up and he disappears. At this point I don't care. I'm just happy I won. And beat Kingsfield 2 for a 3rd time. I don't know why, but I really don't feel proud about that. We get a credit sequence where that narrator from the beginning reads more poorly translated sentences.
He began walking again.
So, just like Prey, this ending leaves me with way more questions than answers. I guess I won, but what did I actually accomplish? I guess it's a happy ending, but what does it all mean? It's hard to tell. What am I supposed to make of those weird lab experiments and the robot enemies? I can't forget that. I think I have Kingsfield PTSD, but it's over now. It's all over. I made it. Well, I'm gonna be like Alexander and start walking again, away from this video. But wait, it's an after credits sequence. It showcases the developers using the most powerful items and spells for some reason. I don't think I've ever seen a game do this before. I didn't even find like half of these, and at this point maybe I never will. But this is good, because this is the core of what Kingsfield is all about. An absolute fucking mystery, one that I'll never solve. Well, maybe next playthrough.